Hi, my name's Sally and I book nervous system supportive travel for people with chronic illness like me. This is part 1 of my 3-week journey through Asia. I arrived in Taiwan already in PEM due to moving out of my apartment in Tokyo. So these 5 days were all about pacing and listening to my body. Here's how I made Taipei doable, pulled up from a crash, and didn't push myself into even more PEM. I hope you enjoy. So my trip to Taiwan started in this airport hotel at Haneda, and you can see it is a very tiny, slightly icky room. I paid for it with cash, and in hindsight I should have paid for a slightly better room given that I did already have PEM from packing. Here I am at check-in the next morning, still exhausted and with chest pain, but thankfully in my wheelchair already. And then here we are on the plane. This is Eva Air booked through Aeroplan, and I paid 30,000 points and $76.30 Canadian. Now, this was a 3-hour flight just over to Taipei, but it was still fantastic to have the full business class seat with the hideous PEM that I was dealing with. And we did get a full meal, although they did just deliver it all together, not in separate courses. Here you can see I do eat on the plane because with my chronic illness I cannot go long periods of time without hydration and food. But you can see there I did just put my HEPA filter on, and then I am obviously fairly far away from other people in terms of the seat protection there. And then you get to see me doing a pretty bad job with the chopsticks. I'm much better with Japanese chopsticks than Chinese because they're a slightly different shape, and obviously I have much more practice. All of this I attribute to my grandparents who taught me incorrectly how to use chopsticks as a kid, and relearning as an adult has been impossible, unfortunately. So we've got some interesting appetizers there. Shrimp I'm totally okay with. Some of the other things are a little bit interesting. And then we've got some wontons and some soup in that pot on the left here, which again you will see me probably doing incorrectly as I add one to the other and eat them in a moment. Then they did also serve us dessert, which I chose some sort of pastry with black bean paste, I think, inside there, and a lovely cup of blueberry herbal tea. I stayed at the Humble House Taipei, which is part of the Hilton Curio collection, and you can see the rooms are fairly compact, but very modern and new. I've heard a lot from other people about very musty and moldy smelling hotel rooms in Taipei because of the humidity, but this was not the case with this room at all. And I also have Hilton Gold status, so I was upgraded to a high floor with that fantastic view. I did spend a lot of time in the room, as you know, I frequently do, but it was very comfortable, even though it was compact. And look at that beautiful view, Taipei 101, and then all the Mitsukoshi buildings that you can see right at the bottom there, where I spent quite a bit of time. Then that first evening, I just ordered myself room service for dinner. Then the next morning, still with quite a bit of PEM, I had a private tour. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to reschedule it, but the guy picked me up at my hotel, and he was a fantastic guide. There were 9 different places on the itinerary. I think I managed 4 and a lunch stop. This is the Longshan Temple, which has been beautifully restored in recent years. You can see in a second when I zoom in the beautiful tiles that have still all the vibrant colors from the restoration that they have painstakingly done. Really lovely. So this is a famous historic Buddhist temple, and as I mentioned, it has been lovingly restored, and the guide was incredibly thorough and knowledgeable and spent quite a bit of time explaining to me the rituals that people were doing in terms of prayer and the different gods that they are talking to. Beautiful wooden carved pillars here that are protected. And then he is showing me, if you see those ladies in the background with the wooden sticks and the little half moon shapes, how it is that people are communicating with the gods. So if you see these little half moon shapes here, what they are doing is asking a question and then throwing them on the ground, as you can see. And depending on which way up they are landing, it's a yes or a no or an inappropriate question. So this, I believe, is the no, and this one, I believe, is the yes, and this one is the I don't know, or you asked the wrong question. And then you can see the little sticks there that the lady is picking up. If you need a more specific answer, each of those sticks has a number on it. And then there's a whole chest of drawers with little bits of paper in the back that we will see in a moment that can give you a more extensive answer. And as you can see, this is a really important part of Taiwanese culture, and there are many, many people engaging seriously in this communication and question asking. Then he's pointing over towards the chest in the corner there, and it looks a little bit like this, with the different numbers and the pieces of paper inside. Around the back here are multiple other gods that you can pray to. The big one in the middle there being the god of the ocean, Taiwan being an island, very important to Taiwanese culture, but also several others, including one for exams, one for health, one for fertility, one for marriage, etc., etc. You can also see there the cooling mist that they're piping out of the ceiling to keep people cool. There are also lots of spots for sitting down. This is a pretty accessible temple. So the next stop on our tour was the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Park. After an easy air-conditioned drive, which is the whole point of doing a private tour, and these are much more affordable in Asian countries than they would be in places like the US or Europe. This is a lovely garden. As we were walking from the car to the memorial, and lots, as you can see, of shade and benches, so you can take your time, sit down, people watch a little bit. Now, Taiwan, as you know, has an incredibly interesting history, and the guide was incredibly knowledgeable and more than happy to explain everything. So Chiang Kai-shek is the guy who originally declared the independence of Taiwan from China after the Japanese occupation, and then World War II, and then the Chinese Civil War, in which he fought against Chairman Mao and the Communist Party, and that's when Taiwan broke away from mainland China. And there is also an air-conditioned museum here where you can see various artifacts and photographs of him. And again, the guy did a great job of explaining things. And then this is the memorial here. And if you do want to go up those steps, there are elevators. But the main attraction is the changing of the guard, which happens every day at noon, and my guide had timed it just right for us to see. You can see it is rather popular. Lots of people taking videos, and you are out in the bright midday sunshine, but you will see in a moment there are some steps where I did take a seat, and there was a teeny bit of shade there too. I didn't film the entire thing because it does go on, and also I was getting a little bit tired at that point. But again, within your capacity, this is something that would be potentially accessible. For others, you might need some mobility aids or a wheelchair in order to do this. Then after the changing of the guide asked if I liked soup dumplings because there was a Michelin place not too far away. So we wandered over slowly and they were absolutely delicious and very reasonable price. Now the next stop on the tour was Dewa Street, and this is historically an important spot for commerce, Chinese medicine, fabrics, incense, etc. I was starting to get a little tired by this point, so I just took it very easy. The guide dropped me off to wander on my own. As you can see here, I just wandered a little bit to soak up some of the atmosphere, and it's not busy, which is good. I think there are other shopping spots in Taipei that are very busy. If you're looking for somewhere that is relatively quiet, this is a good spot. Then I grabbed a drink from Family Mart and sat on one of those benches there in the shade, which was fantastic. And I did pick up some dried mango, which is somewhat of a delicacy, although the shops along here are not super cheap. They are very touristy. I think there may be other spots if you were looking for super affordable things, but the mango was very delicious. Now this is where doing a private tour again really comes into its own for chronic illness, because I was getting quite tired at this point and there were several other things on the list that I really wasn't so interested in. I knew I really could only do one more, so I requested that we stop at the National Revolutionary Martyrs Shrine, which is what you're seeing right here. I did not walk down to the end there because I didn't have the spoons. I just sat here on one of the benches. But again, we did manage to time it perfectly for another changing of the guard. So we just sat there for a while until that started, and then I filmed that. And you can see all these people here rushing down to get a good spot, but again, I didn't move, just sitting in the nice quiet shade, and we will film what we can see. So there they are walking down, as you can see, different type of uniform this time. And Taiwan does still have national service for all 18-year-olds. I think they do a couple of years, obviously being an island and significant threat from China still. Interestingly, that red building you can see in the background there is in fact a hotel where a lot of diplomatic dignitaries stay, and apparently there are tunnels underneath that go to the river that you can actually tour now, and there is a fabulous tea house inside if you want to pop in before or after the National Revolutionary Guard Martyrs Shrine to get some tea. So then I had the guy drop me back at the hotel, and I just rested for the rest of the day and all of the next morning. Then I took it easy the whole of that second day. I had some delicious chicken rice for lunch in the restaurant, and then I tried to sit by the pool, but unfortunately it was very windy and I couldn't have the shade up. Amazing views though if you are able to sit out there. Saturday night I did a Shillin night market tour, having taken it easy for most of that day, and again I used a private guide which was perfect. I explained my disability and she was able to find me spots where we could sit down. This is stinky tofu and oyster omelette. She also saved me a lot of walking because she knew where all the good spots were, in particular the Michelin noodles, which were delicious. And as it was starting to get busy, which you can see here, we finished up with shave ice in a nice AC spot, and I was able to take a taxi home again. Then my final day I wanted to do Din Tai Fung, and I just picked the spot closest to my hotel and got there right on opening. I waited maybe 5 minutes, and look at all this delicious food, which you can also take out if you're not finished. Yay! I hope you enjoyed that video. I look forward to seeing you in the next part, which will be Hong Kong and Macau.